get in the water. Earlier this summer, a coworker and we were talking about what we were working on, and I mentioned that I had just written this book, what it what it is, what it was, what it meant to me, what I was trying to do. And I didn't think much about it. We all talked about what we were going to do on our summer vacations, etc. Weeks later, this coworker pulls me aside and she asked me real quickly about the book. But before I can really even say much, she just jumps in and says, "So, guess what? I learned how to swim." And that's cool because as an adult, learning how to swim is a real achievement, you know, especially if you've never really done it, never really set foot in the water in your life. So I talked with her about it, and it was pretty remarkable, hearing her story, hearing what she did, how she got there. But that's her story, and you have your own. So let's just think abstractly for a second. Why might an adult never have learned to swim? Maybe maybe an overprotective parent made water feel dangerous, unsafe. Uh, Maybe their whole childhood they were just shooed away from it, given that sense of danger, right? Maybe there was never a pool nearby. Maybe they just didn't have access, or someone with the time to teach them how to swim. Maybe their parents never learned how to swim and it was just a continuation. Or maybe something bad happened and there's a good reason for everyone to be, upset. There's all kinds of reasons, right? And maybe nothing happened. Maybe it just never happened, right? Maybe there's no real compelling reason. You just didn't learn to swim and that's just the way it's been. And, you know, at some point in time, you decide to change that story. So I don't know your problem. And in some ways, I don't need to. What we really have to do is think about the shape of it for a second. Whatever it actually is to you, it's more than that. So, you know, unpacking the reason or reasons or multiple reasons, compelling reasons, extended circumstances, connected reasons, unpacking all of that, it's not like a one time deal. It's not a thing that most people are capable of doing right off the bat. So, in essence, the reason you don't do something matters less than we pretend it does because most of us use that as an excuse to stay stuck instead of the explanation for how we got there in the first place. And I do, if you read my book, I do believe it's more than that. But in many cases, it's simpler to just stay stuck. My coworker didn't learn to swim by thinking about being someone who could swim. She didn't visualize it or affirm it, run the seed in her head until it felt true. You know, maybe she probably did something. She probably made some effort, right? But thinking is the easy half. What I want to talk about is doing. The hard part isn't believing that you could be it. It's not I am a swimmer. It's that I can become a swimmer. I can become one. And that's the entire gap between imagining and doing. So she believed she could become someone who swims. Then she got in the water. And that's the whole mechanism. And what happens when you get in the water can be very different for very different people. It doesn't necessarily matter what it is, it matters what you do with it. So, my exercise for today is simple: pick one thing that you never learned to do. Blow a bubble. Um, Fold a paper airplane. Flip an egg in a pan. Yeah, that's a good one. It doesn't really matter what it is. And it doesn't actually matter why you never picked it up. Go do the smallest version of the thing that you want to do this week. And if you can't name one dumb, tiny little thing that you have been avoiding for literally no reason, then you're probably lying to yourself. So, yeah, great. Go do the big ticket thing. I hope you do. You want to learn to swim and you've never swam? You can do it. You will do it. You can become a swimmer, and then you can become a great swimmer. You can become any kind of swimmer you want, as long as you get in the water.